Do you know how to properly price a house? Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Rosemary Lewis, your real estate bestie, and today we are going to talk about the topic of pricing homes to sell. Now, before I get into it, you already know what I need you to do. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that every time we post a video, you will know all about it. And you know what, before I even get into this, I just want to say, you know what, besties, I appreciate you so much. Every time I get a thumbs up or every time you leave a comment, it is just a reminder to me that we are better together. So if you haven't figured it out by now, your real estate bestie, Rosemary, I am here and I'm committed to helping you alongside your real estate journey. And I actually want to know you a little better. So if you have not already subscribed to the email list to stay connected with like the inner workings of what's happening over at Real Estate Bestie, make sure to head on over to rosemarylewis.com/list so that you can stay in the know and connected to all of your real estate besties. Now, let's talk about how to price a house. So we have already talked about things to think about if you want to become a listing agent. And I am going to link that video here because I know that it is going to be super helpful for you, especially for those of you who are interested, as you should be, in becoming listing agents. But we're going to talk about one of the sticking points in a conversation that you need to know how to have, which is properly pricing a home in this and any market. Because I am going to tell you that, yes, you want to be a listing agent because when you list, you last, but you definitely don't want to be that agent who is habitually overpricing homes that don't sell. And now you're getting a bad rap from not only your clients, but you're losing momentum because you feel beat up by the market. And there are definitely ways to avoid feeling this. So the biggest thing, y'all, that I learned is that we have to become market experts and be able to not only price ahead of the market, but be able to articulate our thinking to our clients. And this is what I mean. I always share with my clients, right, that it's really almost impossible to underprice a home because the market will dictate exactly what they will pay for a home. And if we have any confusion of that, like go ahead and think back to 2021, 2020, the beginning of 2022, when we were just astonished, like literally astonished by what buyers were paying for homes because they were that motivated to get in them. Now, for many of us, I know I was on the side that there were absolutely zero comps to support the prices that my listings were going under contract for, but that was okay because the buyers saw the value and they were willing to pay that amount. But here is the reverse, is that when we find ourselves overpricing a listing and not being in tune with the demands of the market, then you may find yourself in a situation where the listing gets stale. It is a great listing, a great home, but because it is overpriced, it is not getting the action, and that leads to frustration for both you and the sellers. So the very first thing is we have to truly have knowledge of what's happening in market so that we can articulate to our sellers as we are having discussions about what we think the price is. And I will give you a great example. So as you all know, the market looks different than it did just a year ago, right? And one of the huge differences is that interest rates have impacted the purchasing power for a lot of buyers. So it's not that buyers are not willing to pay the listed price or that the comps don't support the listing price, but just quite frankly, they can't get approved or afford what those mortgage payments will be based on today's rates. So it is imperative that we are able to have a conversation. And literally, I just had a conversation with one of my sellers and I explained to them my pricing suggestion for the listing. And quite honestly, my pricing suggestion was just a little bit lower than what comps supported. Now, you may be wondering, Rosemary, why are you suggesting that they list less than what comps supported? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because I understand that the most recent comps that we are looking at within the last 30 to 90 days, the buyers that were buying during that time, their purchasing power looked different than the buyers that are buying today because interest rates were a little bit lower. So if we're looking at those same buyers who are probably in this buyer pool, then as rates have gone up, we have to respond in our pricing, not to fire sale the house and not to give it away, but to truly be in tune with what's happening in market to get the right buyers into the door so that we can get to the seller's goal of getting the home closed. Now, this is going to be a very important point, especially when you're having these pricing conversations, is to be sure, like I don't ever want my sellers to be so hung up on the list price, like what we are listing the home for, as much as we are defining, okay, what are your financial goals? If your financial goal is to make X dollar amount, right, you want to walk away with X dollar amount. And if the numbers that we are looking at, I'm honest with them, like if we are able to respond to market conditions and list at a number that will get them X dollar amount, then we have that conversation. But if for whatever reason I don't see X, but I see Y, I'm going to be honest and say, listen, based on what's happening in market, based on, the comps that I see, based on what's pending in my conversation with current listing agents about the buyer's availability or what they're able to do and how they are competing, this is what I see you walking away with. And I'm not just giving you my opinion, I am supporting it with data. It makes a big difference. And now I know that what some of you are thinking, well, what if I am dealing with a seller who is just, adamant about coming out at this listing number? You need to be comfortable with having that tough conversation with the seller and letting them know exactly what happens when a home is overpriced, right? When we are not pricing according to market in the beginning, what ends up happening is that we have extended market time, which may be a signal to the buyer that something may be wrong with the home, or that they may even have more negotiating room because the seller may be in a more desperate situation, right? It does not always work out like perfect math or perfect science, but being able to explain to them like, hey, I don't want to come out too high, or we don't want to come out too high because it actually can hurt you in the long run and you will have extended carrying costs. Then a lot of times sellers are able to understand it when you put it to them like that. But here is also the reality, okay? And this is where it gets really tough. Sometimes we just have somebody who is not as reasonable. I have a great example. I have someone who, I'm in conversation with them, and we are literally about $200,000 apart on where we think the value and where we think the market is going to price their home, right? Where we think we're going to close at. So in this situation, I am staying in contact with them. I'm keeping them updated on what's happening in the market, but I will not plant my sign in that yard or a listing that I know is overpriced, because what will end up happening is that I am going to end up investing a lot of time and energy only to end up with a lot of frustration from myself and the seller. So in this case, I got to be okay with walking away until the numbers work for both of us. So I don't want you to be just so thirsty for a listing, like you know that it's way overpriced, that you are going to take it, because at the end of the day, as a listing agent, we invest a lot on the front end. And if you're investing on a home that is not going to move, it is going to end up costing you a lot of time and a lot of money. Now, I hope that this was helpful for you as you are just thinking through how to have pricing conversations. Again, really work to shift your sellers from thinking about, okay, what is that list number? But after your cost of sale, how much do you need to walk away with? And that is how you have the pricing conversation, with letting them know, based on what's happening, I think that you're going to be able to walk away with this. Now, if you made it to the end of this video and you are not subscribed to my channel, oh, friend, what are you doing with your life? Go ahead and subscribe. And while you're at it, go ahead and send this video to one of your real estate besties, because I know that this is a video that will help many of us as we are having these pricing conversations and thinking through how to analyze these comps. As always, it is my pleasure to just bring you as much information as I can. And if there's ever anything that you want to ask me a question personally, did you know that you can leave me a voicemail and do that? go to rosemarylewis.com/ask, and you can ask me a question and I will answer it on our podcast, Real Estate Bestie. And you can check that out here on YouTube or any of your podcast platforms. All right, besties, see you soon.